All right, here we go. And it's always a special treat to spend some time with one of the most ingenious writers that I've ever known, Stefan Verstappen. He puts together scenarios and reads them in such a way that you're there. It always reminded me, and they're rather doom and gloom, okay, but they're really not because they're projected and premised on what is obviously in the works to happen. It reminds me of let me think, 1957, 59, 60? The movie The Last Man on Earth, starring the amazing Vincent Price, filmed on a budget over in Italy. Uh, Fascinating. I knew the daughter of the director of that film. Sidney Salco directed it, and it's a classic to this day. An eerie film from back in the day. It was remade by Will Smith called The Last Man Alive or something like that. But the original had a very creepy darkness. It was filmed in black and white too. Now, Stefan Verstappen is back with us tonight, and I want to find out first of all. Well, welcome. Glad to have you back.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me back on the show. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. What are you working on right now? That's my first question. I know
Okay.
you've been under a lot of duress, like all of us, watching this and trying to keep things together. It's tough. But what project would you do if you had the time and the financial underwriting to kind of do what you want? What would you like to do right now? You're so creative.
Well, if I had the financial underwriting, I'd like to finish my my memoir of China called "Memoir of a Lotus Eater" because it's fun to write nonfiction, but I don't have time for that now. I've written some of it. It's uploaded to my YouTube channel, Memoir of a Lotus Eater. I read a few of select chapters from that, and it's just basically my
Hmm.
experience in China. But what I'm working on that I have to work on is I need to finish my book, The Complete Guide to Forming Communities. And I will be doing an online course on the subject for Autonomy, which is an online university. And so I'm
Uh-huh.
putting together the prospective for the course because I wasn't going to do it. They contacted me like 5 months ago. We'd really like you all, for you to do a course because there's so many people. There's such a need for people to form communities during these times, to work together, to support each other. And the problem is, Jeff, is that we have lost the ability to work together. I blame the public education
Oh,
system. I,
you
bla-
got that right.
I blame popular media. I blame the government. I blame everybody. We, as as human beings, we need to be a part of a community. We need to be part of something greater than just ourselves. And with the smartphones and the internet and the social media and all that, this is
Right.
a artificial substitute for a real connection between people. And they contacted me 5 months ago. But 5 months ago, we were in the dead of winter here. It's just brutal. Locked in the house for months on end, no sunshine, no vitamin D, and I just thought, I can't do it. But since then, I've had people email me, especially people from. There's a couple of groups out there called the Freedom Cells. I don't know if you've heard of that. Apparently,
No.
they have like 20,000 members, and what they're trying to
Hmm.
do is
Good.
form what's called intentional communities. And I'm getting emails from them, and I talk to some of the people that call me or email me because they want to talk, and they're saying, no, please, you got to do the online course because we need help with this. And I went, yeah, okay, well. And then I listened to like a 6-hour conference that they had uploaded and on how to build communities. And I thought, well, I better listen to this because
Mm.
if they've already got a handle on it, then I don't need to do anything. You guys got it. That's fine. Great. So I listened to it, and Jeff, I mean, everybody has really good intentions, but they don't know what to do. They really don't know what to do. We all understand the importance of trying to work together, but the tools, the techniques, the strategy, the approach.
They don't have the tactics. You're right. They don't know how to do it. And this is really important because I don't know if they're looking down the road beyond the great culling to
Hmm.
put things back together, or if they're just trying to make contingency plans in case a few EMPs go off and we're
Yeah,
back to horse and buggy times. I don't know.
yeah. Listen, I like horse and buggy times.
Oh yeah.
We used to we had we just still do where I used to live. We have a thing called Black Creek Pioneer Village, and growing up as a child, we used to have weekly day trips to Pioneer Village, and it's a village that recreates 1880s. So
Oh, fun.
yeah. And so as a kid, I learned how to spin wool, how to forge horseshoes in a blacksmith shop, how to make candles, how to bake bread. How we learned all those things, and actually it was quite pleasant. It's a beautiful kind of an existence, but. You need a community to do that. Even if we go back, even if they cut us off the electricity and everything, and we end up in the
Right.
1880s, boy, do you need a community. And after listening to this 6 hour thing, I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Then it's a lot of work, though, but I'm going to do it.
Writing is brutal
It's brutal,
sometimes.
right? You know what it's like, Jeff. You know what it's like. And the other thing is that it sucks up time. It scares me the time that goes by while you're writing. Because, you wake up in the morning, okay, 7 o'clock, I'll do a few chores. Okay, start to write at 8 o'clock. You look up from your table, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What the hell
True.
happened?
Yeah.
And then days
Sure.
fly by, weeks fly by, months fly by, and meanwhile, also, you're in a kind of a zombie zone, trying to put this material out there. So, listen, I got to finish off the book. I'm going to do the course. I've started to. I created another website specifically for communities, but talking to the people, and a few things crossed my desk the other day that just made me realize how important it is. I mean, just between you and me, Jeff, I almost
Mhm.
think it's too late. I almost think it's an impossibility. Uh, People are too far gone to be able to work together. They don't have the
No,
skills,
I'm
but
not going to argue that. You're reflecting my general view of most people.
yeah,
They just don't have it anymore.
they
They're
don't
not the
they
same.
they don't know anymore how to cooperate. You know, like, I was telling people,
They
I
want
said,
to escape into their screens. They just go, they hide. It's a drug.
I
Why do
know.
I have to deal with reality? Why do I have to talk to somebody face to face and work things out when I can just go online and text if needed and do whatever else I'm doing?
Yeah,
Take pictures.
yeah. And then once that's gone, these people are going to have, breakdowns. They're going to have
Massive
mental
withdrawal.
breakdowns. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
going to
they'll
have
be
huge
seriously
withdrawals.
ill.
They're going to go into a catatonic state because what are they going to do? What, communicate with people, work together? What is that all about? It's going to be overwhelming for most people. It really is.
Right.
I said, I have the answer to all our problems. And the answer is that we need to work together. We've heard this before. I'm not the first person to say it. I won't be the last person to say it. But there's only one big obstacle in the way, and that is people have to stop being assholes. I don't know if that's possible
Well,
anymore.
that's an attitude. And that attitude has been carefully nurtured and cultured and grown in this petri dish called America and North America for a reason. They want people to be like that. They don't want people to get along. They don't want
No,
harmony. There's
absolutely.
no gain in it for them.
And governments have been doing that for hundreds of years now. They've been attacking communities. The last thing the government wants is
Sure.
for people to cooperate and work together. They hate that. And then, with this whole lockdown nonsense for the last year and a half, that's exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to do. You think that's an accident. No, that's done on purpose. They purposely want to divide us. And this is all part of the communist plan. This is what communism does. It divides people. It separates families. It destroys families. It destroys neighborhoods and communities and churches, and so that everybody is suspicious and envious and jealous, and they can't work together anymore. This is what communism does, and they do that on purpose because this is our only hope of fighting against what's coming.
Why would somebody, Stefan, you're right. Why would somebody want to get out and work with other people, creating something for the group when they've got their cell phone or their iPad or whatever?
Yep.
Why would they want to?
Well,
they're totally hooked on it, utterly addicted. And then when this thing comes along and bites them all in the ass here in a few months, and they're seeing that they're surrounded by death and dying and sickness and all manner of corruption, what are they going to do then?
They're going to run around screaming, "Save me, save me, somebody save me."
Not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm a victim.
I'm a victim. Yeah. Well, it's too late then. Trust me, it'll be too late. They won't be. What's coming, Jeff, is going to be absolutely horrible. Like, it's hard to believe, growing up in the world that you and I grew up in. I was born in 57. I was a child of the 60s. I was a teenager in the 70s. Those were different times. It's a different world. All of that is gone now, completely gone. And it's no surprise that, the media, the entertainment, the movies, all of it is aimed at creating psychopaths, narcissists, people who only care about their own self-aggrandizement. It's this whole selfie. I have never taken a selfie in my life. I just find it so vain and so pointless. Look at me, look at me, look at me. This is the mantra of an entire generation.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. They're all narcissists.
When I see pictures of so-called celebrities taking a selfie of themselves, trying to look sexy, cool, witty, handsome, whatever,
yeah,
I literally cringe.
So do I.
They're happy to be seen engaging in the most self-indulgent narcissism you can imagine, smiling into this little machine they're holding, posing, primping, getting ready to send it around to all who care, which unfortunately is too many.
Yeah.
And somebody took that picture of them doing that.
Yeah.
And they're fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the unbridled narcissism, it's so ugly to me. I really, it is, like you said, it's cringe. I see and then the fish lips,
Oh, what is that? When is that going to, I hope it fades away soon. The Botox mouth.
Yeah.
And these women newscasters, some of them, and Laura Ingraham was one. There have been others. Their lips look like they're in the way. They're in the way for making speech, and it amazes me. They're like hanging out there.
Yeah.
And they're in the way. They can't articulate. Somehow they have to learn to talk around those big fat pieces of salami that now are in front of their top and bottom teeth.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's not only that, it's ugly.
Oh, it is ugly. I find nothing attractive about the duck lips or the fish lips, whatever it is. They're all pouting, It's embarrassing, and it's embarrassing because this kind of unbridled narcissism was, when I was growing up, unseemly. Nobody would dare to exhibit such selfish, narcissistic, psychopathic traits. You would have been ostracized by polite society to be such an attention hog, such a drama queen. And now everybody's a drama queen. Everybody's an attention hog.
You got it. You would have been mocked, laughed at, degraded, and basically washed up. If somebody in the 60s had seen people doing this, they would have gotten away from it. They wouldn't want it It's not normal.
No,
The
they would have.
self love is pathetic to
Yes,
see, and it's
yes.
everywhere.
And of course, we haven't really discussed this before, but I have always followed a spiritual path, and all the great spiritual writings um,
Yeah.
condemn this kind of behavior, this
Oh,
self-love. It's ridiculous. Um, they would have condemned this kind of stuff, and that's why I would never do that, because it's against my moral principles, my spiritual path. Would the
well,
teachers that I admire would condemn this kind of stuff? I mean, they wouldn't have even been able to conceive of this level of narcissism. So now we've got
uh,
everybody that's complete narcissistic. And do you think they can cooperate? That they can work together? That they can sacrifice for the
the only
better?
thing they're going to be able to do, Stefan, is beg for food.
Yeah,
That's what they're going to do.
yeah,
They'll be begging. I'm a victim. I
yeah,
didn't get a chance.
yeah,
I have no community. I've got no friends.
yeah.
Whatever.
Exactly.
No one's responsible. No one's accountable.
Nope, nope. And this is the biggest obstacle in the way. That's why part of me is like, I feel as though my efforts will be in vain, because really I've gone through history. We talked about this before, about the historical cycles, how we know that civilizations follow a distinctive pattern: the rise, the blossoming, the decay, the degradation, and then suddenly the collapse, and then finally another rise again. We know this has happened many times, and I have studied what happens. How do the people that lived through those times? What did the Romans do when Rome collapsed? What did the Chinese do when the Qin dynasty collapsed? How did they survive the chaos, the dark ages, and the common solution, the way people survived those uh, destruction of their civilization, the collapse of their society, the way they survived in throughout history was to work together. Mutual aid societies, um, monasteries, um, intentional communities, isolated communities. That's how they survived, by working together. That's how they survived the collapse of all the previous civilizations that have ever existed on this planet. They've all collapsed. You can wander through the ruins of 100 different civilizations. They all collapsed, but people survived it. But they survived it by cooperating, working together, small communities, larger communities, and then finally, after 100 years or so, they were able to build a new civilization. I don't think we're going to be able to do that this time, because throughout history, we have never seen such degradation, such a collapse of humanity itself. The very basic,
Across the board.
yeah, across
Across
the
the
board,
board.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to survive this. It's going to collapse. Let's hope that it's only down, civilization collapses for 10, 20 years, and we can build it up again. But this time when it collapses, the powers that be, the you-know-whos, I call them the usual suspects, they have something better planned. They're going to make sure that we don't come back. This time when it collapses, and as you know, it's going to be a worldwide culling. And if the people that do survive will find themselves in a slavery system that has never seen before in human history.
They'll be begging for handouts. They'll be serfs.
Yeah,
It's the new serf,
yeah.
so to speak.
So listen, I've got the answers. Not just me. I mean, people in the past knew the same thing. They worked together. They cooperated. They formed communities, and they were able to survive. I don't know if we can do that anymore. We're so far gone. But listen, I'm still going to try, Jeff. Do not
Good.
go gently into that dark night, right? The famous poem.
No.
And we're going to fight it all the way. We're going to go down fighting. We're on the Titanic. It's sinking. The band keeps playing. But I'm in the band, Jeff. I'm going to keep playing.
You're still doing? You doing music?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Almost
Good for
every
you.
night I go out late at night. I'm a night owl. And I play my guitar and harmonica. I teach myself new songs. And yeah, listen, art and beauty, we still have to maintain it. We have to keep it. That's, to me, is the only thing that keeps us sane, or at
Well,
least it
it's one
keeps
of the
me
first
sane.
thing that the communists corrupted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Art and
Mm-hmm.
beauty, and they took away great music. They
Yes.
took it away.
Oh,
They
yeah.
canceled music appreciation classes
Yeah.
in high school.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
Art became Andy Warhol's painting of a tomato soup can, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Not art.
That's not art.
Anyway, whatever. All right, hold on just a minute. Stefan and I will be right back with more. Stand by. Okay, welcome back. Talking with Stefan Verstappen. And if you look up Stefan, do a site search, you'll find some of his remarkable readings of his, we'll call them little screenplays. Very portentous, very much so. So, without getting into too much detail, are you going to stay up in that hellhole, Canada? And the people there are wonderful, but my God, the communists and the Chinese are, well, you can see it.
Oh, yeah. It's not just Justin Castro, or I like to call him Damien Castro, because he is.
Hey, now explain that to people in case you all don't know it. Uh, Trudeau, the prime minister up there, is not the son of his father.
No,
Tell him more.
no. Well, his mother wrote a couple of books in which she described herself as. Listen, she slept around a lot. I mean, she slept with all the Rolling Stones, all kinds of celebrities. I personally, his father is supposed to be Pierre Elliott Trudeau, whom I was scheduled to meet back when I was a teenager, because I was doing community organizing, the supposed occupation that Barry Soetoro had at one time, him and
Mhm.
his husband. Um, but she wrote a bunch of tell-all books, and wow, this this woman, listen, she was neurotic as hell. There was no doubt about it. There was something wrong with her, and uh, she slept around quite a bit. I'm pretty sure Pierre was hiding in the closet. We've seen this kind of scenario before, right? Where guys like that
Correct.
hide in the closet while they watch other men make love to their wives. And they were also heavy into the cocaine and all that stuff. And
Right.
she describes meeting Fidel Castro and how handsome he was and magnetic and how attracted she was to him. Now, she didn't say she slept with him, but you fill in the blanks, because when you take a look at a picture of our current prime minister, I call him Damien because he's like the omen, right? He's the
Yeah, yeah.
Antichrist, right?
Good.
And you take a look at a picture of him, and then you look at a picture of Fidel Castro when he was younger. They were like
Click.
twins. They were spitting image of each other. Then you take a look
Right.
at who his real father was supposed to be, Pierre.
What a
Doesn't
joke.
doesn't look
No.
anything like Pierre. He looks like a young Fidel Castro. So those of us up here in Canada that are in the know, we all call him Justin Castro. You know,
That's good.
yeah. So, but listen, he's the son of a communist mass murderer. Hello. And also, Justin has been on record many times saying how much he admired the Chinese communists because they had such a dictatorship. And if
Yeah.
only we had a dictatorship, then they could really control the country. I mean, this guy admits to worshiping a communist mass murderer, and he's probably, in all likelihood, the son of a communist mass murderer. So things are not good for Canada. But we've been sold out already for many years. So starting after the Second World War, we were all sold out. America did not win World War II. A certain group of people won World War II. A group of people I like to call the usual suspects. That's my code
Well, they
word.
win every war. Think about it.
Of course, they
Whether they
win
win it on the battlefield or they win it rebuilding everything and financing that reconstruction after the war. It doesn't matter. They win.
Exactly. They funded both sides of the war. It's a win-win. Whoever wins, they get the money. Whoever loses, they get the money. Because they give them the loans to rebuild. So yeah, all our countries were sold out a long time ago, Jeff. Canada, America, Europe, Eastern Europe, they were really sold out. I mean, come on. Roosevelt gave Eastern Europe to Stalin, gave it to him. And all those poor people in Poland and Czechoslovakia and
Well,
Latvia. And now,
you know who wanted to free them, who wanted to take it back and roll communism right back up to Moscow and destroy it, was George Patton.
One of my favorite generals, George Patton, absolutely. He talked about that. He was open about it, and then they killed him. He was murdered. No doubt about it.
None.
Yeah. And, if you've seen the movie Patton, where he had to apologize to the entire army, something unheard of in American history, unheard of in any history. I've never read a case where a general had to go and apologize to his entire army for slapping a soldier who was faking, shell shock. But guess who the soldier he slapped was? One of the usual suspects. Yep.
Yep.
So they killed George Patton because he was onto them. He figured it out. They wanted him to kill all the Germans, and he said, well, the German people, that was his mistake. He said the German people voted for Hitler just like Americans voted for Roosevelt. Oh my God, that was the biggest sin. No, the Germans were evil. This goes all the way back to the Bible, where during the Exodus, where God commanded. Or Moses commanded the Pharaoh to let his people go, but God intervened and hardened the Pharaoh's heart. And so all these Egyptians were murdered, with the plagues and everything, their firstborn and all. Did the Egyptians vote in the Pharaoh? What did the average Egyptian have to do with the goddamn Pharaoh? But God murdered them all. Look, it's the same thing. The German people, they just wanted to get out of the depression. They voted for whoever gave them the best deal, and well, Hitler gave them the best deal. Absolutely, pulled them out of the depression, built the autobahn. Everybody had jobs.
Hitler delivered along with the German people.
Yeah,
working hand in hand, side by side.
Yeah. So for the Americans to go in there and start murdering Germans, well, it wasn't their fault. Wasn't their fault. The same thing, but we're seeing that now. If you vote for Trump, well, now they're going to come and murder you now, too. Not that I was ever a fan of Trump. I don't believe in politics. I never believed in Trump. I always thought it was just another carnival sideshow that we call politics,
That's what it was. It was a carny act.
It was
That's
a carny
exactly
act,
right.
absolutely. It was to distract you from what the bankers were really doing, which was rolling out the COVID and the reset and destroying the economy. And, same thing with Black Lives Matter and political correctness and all that. All of this stuff was just a big sideshow so that you don't notice that you're being screwed like no one has ever screwed people before. So it was all just a big sideshow. But Patton didn't want to do it. Well, good on him. Good on him. Unlike General Pershing, who is an American general that I detest and despise, but there's a big brass statue of him in West Point. They named the tank after him, the Pershing tank. But what did this son of a bitch do? In World War I, on November 11th, he knew that they were about to sign the armistice, and that the war would be over at 11 o'clock. That's why on Memorial Day we have 11-11-11, right? He sent his troops out of the trenches to charge across 200 yards of open field into the machine gun nests of the Germans. He managed to get, I think, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, 4, 5, 7,000 men wounded and killed, knowing the war was going to end in 2 hours. All
Uh-huh.
he would have had to do was say, boys, stand down, wait, don't do anything. And all those young, poor Midwest farmers' boys and bakers' sons would be alive. But no, this son of a bitch sent them over to get them killed, knowing this was all going to end in 2 hours. So, but him, Pershing, he's a big hero. Patton they killed because he didn't want to kill a bunch of people.
He was so determined that somebody was going to recognize that communism, the Soviet Bolsheviks, were in fact the enemy.
Yeah,
He kept three entire Waffen SS divisions together and fully armed, and they were ready to go to let him lead them. They wanted to. He said, "I can roll those people all the way back up into Moscow and eliminate them.
yeah.
I can cut their supply lines. I'll roll them over." He read the letters to his wife. They really are
Yes,
fascinating.
yeah. And well, the results of that, we are paying the price for that today. What you are seeing now, the destruction of America and Western Europe and Australia and New Zealand and Canada,
Correct. Correct.
is a
Why, it's
result.
the Western world. It's the white Western Christian world that is being destroyed. That's the
Absolutely.
target.
That was the target. And the reason we're being destroyed is because they didn't let Patton do what he wanted to do. But
Totally right.
but Washington
Because
was already subverted and infiltrated by the communists by this time, anyways. Listen, when Wilson signed over the Federal Reserve Act, that was the end, because he signed it to the people that funded communism, and as they funded all these wars, going all the way back to the English Revolution, English Civil War, the French Revolution, and 100 in between revolutions. They were all funded by the same banker clans. And when Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act, that was it. That was the end for us. Listen, how can you fight a group of people that can literally create money out of thin air? How do you fight that? I mean, you know,
that's well phrased. I like that.
no, I imagine a castle somewhere in Europe with a big table and, a couple of dozen ugly old, I like to call them proboscis monkeys. Google a proboscis monkey and you know who I'm talking about. And they have some sycophant come up there and say, listen, how much will it take to buy up every newspaper in America? Oh, well, it'll take, $10 billion, $100 billion, $1 trillion, whatever. It doesn't matter. All they have to do is write the number down on a piece of paper. Done. Okay, how much will it take to buy every senator and congressman in Washington? Oh, well, it'll take 1 million, a 10 million, 100 million. Doesn't matter what the number is. They just add zeros to it. They write it down on a piece of paper. Boom, done. How much would it take to buy every every TV station and Hollywood studio and magazine and book publisher? How much would it take to? Doesn't matter what the number is. They just write it down. It's done. How much would it cost to buy every Supreme Court judge, every police chief in the country? Oh, 10 million, 100 million, 10 billion. Doesn't matter what the number. They write it down. Done. How can you fight that? When they can bribe and buy the entire world for nothing because they print the money out of thin air. So when you give somebody that kind of power, of course they can take over the world. It's easy. You can buy everybody. And let's say there's a few people that you can't buy, that they are really hardened Christians, stout moralists. You can't bribe them. Well, how much would it cost to have them murdered? You've got the mafia. You've got MS-13. You've got the drug cartels. Send them a couple of $1 million. Tell him to go kill those guys. Tell him to rape his wife in front of him and then kill him. It's so easy. And how do you fight that? Well, you fight it by uniting into communities to resist it. But guess what? They already knew that was our only weapon against them. And that's why they've spent the last 60 years making sure that people are so selfish and narcissistic and brainwashed that they would never be able to unite against them. So, anyway, look, I'm still trying, Jeff. I'm going to come out with the course. I'm going
Yeah.
to come out with the book. I'm going to do some videos. I'm going to do some more talks on how we can work together and defeat them. But oh my God, I mean, it's David and Goliath. It's really a battle against unlimited evil. Unlimited evil.
Here's a little bit of George Patton writing. On May 7th, 1945, just before the German final capitulation, Patton had a conference in Austria with U.S. Secretary of State, or War back then, Robert Patterson.
Right.
Patton was gravely concerned about the Soviet failure to respect the demarcation lines separating the Soviet and American occupation zones.
Mm-hmm.
He was also alarmed by the plans in Washington, Communist Washington, for the immediate partial demobilization of the U.S. Army. Patton said to Patterson, "Let's keep our boots polished, bayonets sharpened, and present a picture of force and strength to the Red Army. This is the only language they understand and respect."
Yep.
Patterson replied, "Oh, George, you've been so close to this thing for so long, you've lost sight of the big picture." Well, Patton said right back, "I understand the situation. There, the Soviet supply system is inadequate to maintain them in a serious action, such as I could put to them. They have chicken coops. They have cattle on the hoof. That's their supply system. They could probably maintain themselves in the type of fighting I could give them for 5 days. After that, it would make no difference how many million men they had. And if you wanted Moscow, I would give it to you. They lived on the land coming down. There is insufficient left for them to maintain themselves going back. Let's not give them time to build up their supplies. If we do, then we have had a victory over the Germans and disarmed them, but we have failed in the liberation of Europe, and we have lost the war."
Brilliant. Brilliant. You see, Patton was a real strategist. And in my study, because my first book was on strategy and tactics, the 36 strategies, and logistics is a huge factor in fighting a war. This is one of the major components. Yeah, you can have 1,000,000 men, but if you can't feed them and transport them and provide them with water,
That's
they're
no
useless.
staging. That's right.
They're
Yeah.
useless. You can't do anything with them. 10 million men doesn't matter. The more men you have, actually, the worse it gets because your logistics
Correct.
goes through the roof. If you can't supply them, and logistics has cost so many generals, battles, and wars, and civilizations have fallen because they couldn't get grain to the men on the front lines, and they starved, and they couldn't fight. So Patton was absolutely right. Yeah, the Russians had extended their supply lines too far. They weren't able to maintain themselves.
Right.
Probably Holland could have taken over Russia by that point, if they had the proper
Well,
logistics.
may I read just? We got 5 minutes. Let me just read a little bit more here. This is really important. All right. This is our greatest general, a man who had the presidency in his lap if he wanted it,
Hmm.
and some said he was coming home to go after just that. All right. Here. Having immediately recognized the Soviet danger and urged a course of action which would have freed all of Eastern Europe from the communist yoke with the expenditure of far less American blood than was spilled in Korea and Vietnam, and would have obviated both those later wars, not to mention World War III, Patton next came to appreciate the true nature of the people for whom World War II was fought.
Here Mr. Rense speaks the name of an ethnic group whose name it is forbidden to speak.
Most of the swarming over Germany immediately after the war came from Poland and Russia, and Patton found their personal habits shockingly uncivilized. He was disgusted by their behavior in the camps for displaced persons, which the Americans built for them, and even more disgusted by the way they behaved when they were housed in German hospitals and private homes. He observed with horror that, quote, these people do not understand toilets and refuse to use them except as repositories for tin cans, garbage, and refuse. They decline where practicable to use latrines, preferring to relieve themselves on the floor. He described in his diary one displaced persons camp where, although room existed, the were crowded together to an appalling extent, and in particular, practically every room, there was a pile of garbage in one corner, which was also used by them as a latrine. The were only forced to desist from their nastiness and clean up the mess by the threat of the butt ends of rifles. Of course, I know the expression of lost tribes of applied to the tribes which disappeared, not to the tribe of Judah from which the current sons of bitches are descended. However, it is my personal opinion that this is too, and indeed, a lost tribe, lost to all decency.
Yeah.
General George Patton. Now
Yeah.
you understand why he was murdered.
Yeah. No, I read that article too, or that section from his autobiography, and also he describes a situation where he had to go and meet a group of for a celebration or something like that, and he said that just the
Oh,
recollection of the
yeah,
smell.
I've got it here.
You got
I've
it?
got it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Patton's initial impressions of the was not improved when he attended a religious service at Eisenhower's insistence. His diary entry for September 17, 1945 reads in part, quote, this happened to be the feast of Yom Kippur, so they were all collected in a large wooden building, which they called a it behooved General Eisenhower to make a speech to them. We entered the which was packed with the greatest stinking bunch of humanity I have ever seen. When we got about halfway up, the head who was dressed in a fur hat similar to that worn by Henry VIII of England and in a surplice heavily embroidered and very filthy outfit, came down to meet the general. The smell was so terrible, wrote Patton, that I almost fainted, and actually about 3 hours later lost my lunch as a result of even remembering it.
Yeah, and those same people then swarmed over Germany like locusts and absolutely decimated the economy and the people. And
Killed 8 to 15 million people
yeah,
in the next 8 years.
yeah. And that's who's running the world now. That's who's running the world. I prefer to call them the usual suspects, Jeff, so that we don't get in
Well, it
trouble with the
works. I
censor.
mean, they this is tradition.
Yeah,
This
because
is what they do.
I have studied them and I've traced their activities back. I'm not kidding, because you know me. I love history, right? And I wanted to find
Sure.
where the hell did this come from? Who started all this? I can trace them all the way back, almost 4,000 years, and it's always the same story. Always,
Mm-hmm.
always the same story. Um, Ancient Egypt. You go to Egypt now, they're all, what do they look like? I don't know. They're brown people or something like that. Ancient Egyptians were blue-eyed and blonde and redhead.
The
S-
redheads, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me say this real quick. Look, what I just read was not reflective, my opinion, of Stefan Verstappen's opinion of today's people of all types who live in the Western world, okay? There are certain characteristics, though, about control and understanding he who controls the money controls politics and everything.
That's right.
That's the big thing today.
Yeah.
But this is what Patton saw and what he encountered after having fought this war through this highly civilized Christian country known as Germany, only to find himself surrounded by people who were not exactly as he anticipated.
Yeah.
And he just told the truth. That's how he saw it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just need to say that.
Yeah. And, add to that the mass gang rape of German women and things like that,
Nonstop.
which
I
was
forget the
something that,
name of the Russian who urged all the Russian, these were barely
yeah.
civilized people.
Trotsky or
What was
something
that
like,
guy's name?
was that Trotsky?
Kaganovich? I can't remember. No, it
Oh,
wasn't
no,
Trotsky.
Iganovich.
Anyway,
Yeah,
he
something like
kept
that.
urging the Germans, the
Red Army.
Russians, kill Germans, rape their women, leave no one alive, kill them all.
Yeah.
This went on for months
Yeah.
when they were coming in through Eastern Europe. I've talked to people who survived that.
Oh,
It was unbelievable what happened.
yeah.
And it's up in the book carousel. Look for the book about World War II Germany, Hellstorm,
Yes.
and read that and prepare to have the
Horrified.
tears begin to flow.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
incredible.
horrifying. Yeah, it's horrifying. Yeah, but
Anyway,
look at the Old Testament. What did Yahweh say? Go and kill them all. Kill the women. Take the women. Kill the animals. Kill their dogs. Kill their cats. I mean, this is Old Testament stuff. That's
right.
the God that they
True.
worship, urging them to go and
And,
kill and murder and rape. Yeah, come on. This is a loving God that says that. So don't get me started on the Old Testament. Jeff, we're
all
almost
right.
out of time. Folks, if you stay tuned, I'm going to be doing the online university course on how to create communities. If we have a chance, it is only in our ability to unite and work together.
Divided we fall. Simple.
United we stand. So, folks, let's get really smart about this. Throw away the goddamn television and the smartphone. I don't own a smartphone. I don't even own a cell phone, Jeff. Don't need it.
No, I have a little flip phone for emergencies, which that's it.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
fine. I should get one. I just haven't been bothered. If you need help, I'm offering consultations to get you prepped on emergency preparedness, how to survive.
Very quickly. We're running late. Give a contact site or whatever you want for people to use to contact you.
ChinaStrategies.com. One word, has nothing to do with mainland China. It's named after my first book. But go there, click on emergency consulting or preparedness consulting. I'll go over all your plans, all your preps, and we'll get you up to speed. There's not much time, so
No, there isn't. No, we may
so
be down to months.
yeah, we're down to months.
Stefan, thank you. I'd like to talk to you as soon as you're ready. Let me know, and we'll do it.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. You take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay, thanks. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Stefan Verstappen, a unique voice. Another one. All right, back with more. Hang on.